Hello and welcome to Europa Universalis 4. I am Lord Forwind, here with a updated guide on opening Ottoman moves. So it is currently December 1st, 1454, and this is how big I've managed to make the Ottomans after several tries. 477 some odd development, strong military of 42,000, and a fair amount of money has already been used, and a fair amount of missions have been completed. So, first off, the first thing you want to do as the Ottomans, and this is something that took me several times to find, is you want to immediately start fabricating a claim on Constantinople, which is Byzantines, because currently, with the mission system, you do not get a claim on Constantinople. Also, at the same time, you want to jump over to Bulgaria, conscript Janissaries, get 5 Janissaries, which at that point will take you up to your force limit, which will allow you to take the mission, reform the Imperial Army. Well, it won't take you up to your force limit. I'll give you 85% of it, which will allow you to get a claim on this area here. Actually, it's not going to show it, but Karaman, and of course up here, Kandar. And since you have a truce with Karaman, the first thing you want to do is take your genius general and your army, merge it with the Janissaries, move it over to the border with Kandar. At the same time, you want to keep an eye out for see if the Byzantines have any ally. Usually it's Serbia, sometimes it's Wallachia. In this case, it was Wallachia for me. Whoever it is, you want to start fabricating a claim on them as well, because you should be able to take at least one province from them in a war. If it's Serbia, you want to try and take Kosovo, their gold mine province. If it's Wallachia, you want to take their center province, which is their farmland province. And then you will declare war on Kandar. At the same time, you should take your other army, and that should have another general in charge of it, and they should be drilling. If you want to get off to a really good start as the Ottoman, your real only weakness is manpower, but you can get a fair amount of army professionalism fairly quickly early on, and then if you run out of trouble, you can slacken recruiting standards, rebuild your military that way. Anyway, by the time you conquer Kandar, you should be able to have at least one claim against the Byzantines and probably one claim against their allies. I waited till I had 2 claims against the Byzantines so I could safely take all their land. In retrospect, it probably should have taken a claim against Athens rather than against one of the provinces in Morera down there, just to reduce coring cost and overextension due to unjustified claims. Then once you take that land, you core it, you move your armies back. Around the same time, what I did here was I started building a fort up here in Nigbolu and Uskup. I don't know how you say that properly. Mainly because the Ottoman starting forts at Derna, Salank are pretty pathetic in terms of actually protecting a good portion of your homelands, whereas this now protects all this area, and this protects any access down into Greece. Also, if you're going for trying to be tolerant Ottomans, you have quite a few provinces you can assign to the Domini, which is good because then they no longer are really rebellious against you, because as the Ottomans you have that nice little 5% discipline, but more importantly a +3 tolerance of heathens, which means that you are, assuming you have good legitimacy, you are completely tolerant of all Christian faiths, well, actually anything that's essentially not Shia and Ibadi, which is really handy as the Ottomans. Later on, if you want to have a completely, pretty much no religion problem game, you go humanist and everything in the game becomes tolerant towards you and happy being ruled by you. But that's a later thing. Next, you want to move your troops into position. Place one army up near whichever the Byzantines' ally is, either Serbia or Wallachia. Then you declare war on, obviously, the Byzantines. You want to declare it for Constantinople because that's their heaviest developed province. You wipe out their army in Constantinople, you go after their ally. What I did was once I took out their army in Constantinople, I split it in half because I had about 20, I think I had 22 troops. Split it in half, moved the rest down here to siege down Athens and their fort down here, southern Morera. And meanwhile, the other army was taking out, in my case, it was Wallachia, which was relatively easy. Obviously, focus the armies first, and then you can always siege them down. If your armies aren't doing anything in the war, they should be drilling to get you manpower. I also took 2 of my diplomats and put them on target outraged countries. That's just because you're going to be conquering Christian lands, and put it mildly, Venice, Hungary, and Poland and Austria will all be getting fairly offended by your conquests. Austria not as much, but Hungary in particular is relatively unhappy with what I've been up to. Next, once you take that out, you want to piece out Byzantine's ally first. Take a province or two from them. I recommend only taking one province, not two. You do get missions later on to conquer Serbia. Yeah, you just have to conquer Greece and all of the Aegean islands first, and you get claims on Serbia. You also then can get claims on Wallachia. I just took one because Wallachia, on the other hand, even if you have claims on it, is impossible to take in a single war due to their lovely plus 50% core cost to take their land, which apparently affects their provincial war score cost, which is relatively annoying. Serbia, on the other hand, once you go to war with it, can actually be vassalized in a single war, but I would not recommend you vassalize them immediately unless that's going to be the end of your conquest. If you vassalize Serbia and you wipe out the Byzantines, you can't expand eastward anymore because you'll be facing a potential coalition from Christian Europe. In my case, once I had done all that, I had rebuilt the forts, I had handled the armies, had disbanded the fort down here in Morera. I took the wonderful Byzantine national decision to move my capital to Constantinople, which gives it development and turns it Sunni, which otherwise you can pretty much never convert it. I just banded the fort in Edirne because it's not particularly needed with a fort in both Constantinople and Ceylon here. Selanik, actually. I've been saying that wrong for ages, huh? Selanik. Anyhow, after that was done, I moved over here, and depending on the way things are going, Karaman will have either conquered their neighbor Ramazan or have been conquered in turn. In my case, I declared war on them, and halfway through the war, Dul Qadir joined the war to take land as well, which means if you do it, I advise you try and take the provinces that border either Dul Qadir or Adana first, and make sure that they don't enter the war and actually take your land, because that was a bit annoying because these guys were allied with the Great Horde. And other things to do while you're doing this is you should probably try and ally royal marriage the Crimea. You'll get a nice event where you have a chance of getting them as a march, or they don't, but then you got a claim on them to make them a march. Either way, you want to declare war and conquer them because they'll prove to be a pretty nice march up there against Muscovy and the other Christians up there. Other good ally is Tunis, obviously royal marriage alliance. They really won't be that useful in your wars, but it's better to have them as an ally than not. They will, of course, both Crimea and Tunis will help any coalitions from not actually declaring war on you. Outside of that, you have a choice over here with the Eu4 Ottomans. You can ally them. They do really like you. On the other hand, you want their lands eventually, so I tend not to ally them. The Eu4 Ottomans over here, or the QQ, they're pretty much never going to really like you that much because they're Shia. And obviously the Mamelukes are usually your rival. In my case, I rivaled Austria, Hungary, and the Mamelukes. Really doesn't make too much difference. In some ways, rivaling Venice, if you can, might have been more useful because you want to take the Venetian islands and their vassal lands at some point. Once you've taken all of those provinces from Karaman and stuff, you get other missions complete. Obviously, you'll be able to do City of World Desire, conquer Greece, which actually conquer Greece means if you really want to, you don't technically have to take Greece from the Byzantines in the first war, but then you're risking Venice invading them, so I tend to take it at once. You get 2 boosts. This is kind of nice. It allows you to build up your navy, but you don't particularly need that strong of a navy except for your war with Venice, which is a pain. Once you complete the conquest of Karaman and Kandar, you'll get Consolidate Asia Minor, which will give you more claims going this way, and that will be your next area of conquest. But at this point, if you've been paying attention, you will have offended most of Europe. In my case, the Mamelukes, Serbia, and Venice are in a coalition versus me. Not too worried about it, mainly because no one else can actually join it at this point. Neither Austria, nor Hungary, nor Poland, nor the QQ can actually join it. In fact, since I've been improving relations with everybody, most of the people who could have joined it at any point are relatively happy with me. So I just have to wait a handful of years, let that tick down, consolidate power, catch up in tech. I advise you stay focused military tech till you get up to Mil Tech 5, then immediately jump over to administrative, because you'll be falling behind in that due to all your coring. Of course, you can switch over at another point, seeing as you have a 646 ruler. By the way, if he dies in like the first like 5-6 years of the game, just restart. It's not worth it. He's such a god king, it's worth keeping him around. Other than that, the focus then, of course, should be expanding into the Muslim territories and then alternating with expanding back into Europe. Once the aggressive expansion ticks down, take out the Aegean, Venetian islands. Don't forget Genoa over here actually has one, which is slightly annoying. In fact, the claims you get over here do not appear to be permanent, so you do have to be slightly wary of that. You get permanent claim on permanent claim on Serbia, but you don't get a permanent claim on the Aegean Islands. So be aware, you might not want to take that mission until later on. All your other claims, though, are permanent. Once you get a next chance, you want to conquer more of Anatolia, and then you'll get claims on conquering the Levant down here from the Mamluks, and then you can keep expanding pretty much whichever way you want to go. The Ottomans are that powerful. It's important to remember you do have a choice between going humanist and being really tolerant, or going religious and converting everything and still being reasonably tolerant. Other things to do, if you're going to pick your idea groups, I honestly recommend your first idea group be administrative for the reduced coring cost. 25% there plus 20% here for 45%, give or take some other coring cost benefits. So plus, pretty much after that, all of your provinces you'll take will be 50% cheaper or so. That's worth taking. For your next idea, I like taking defensive. Other people say take offensive. Some people say take quality. Almost nobody says take quantity, because the Ottomans tend to have a massive amount of manpower once you expand relatively rapidly. But if you're going to be fighting a lot, it's actually not the worst idea group to take, just not at the beginning. It's also important to remember your Janissary regiments, which you can raise, receive less fire and shock damage and get bonus drill modifiers. So it's worth keeping them around. The only thing you have to be wary of is the Janissary Decadence event, which can't happen in the Age of Discovery, so you're lucky on that fact. Other things I recommend you do, I recommend you play around with your estate some. I switched this from an ulema to the merchant guilds to get more trade out of it. I gave quite a bit of land over here to the priest and the nobility in order to get their influence up to, I think it was 20. I think it's 20 when they, actually no, I think it's 15. Oh, I don't remember. I think it's 20. That you can demand military support from them, which is 100 military power and 100 admin power rather than the 50. Same thing for the merchants. Obviously, it's a bit harder, seeing as you can only give them, and you only really want to give them trade provinces and stuff. But that's a good source for power early on. The Ottomans really have the best early game probably out of any country, other than maybe France and maybe Poland, Lithuania. Just in the sense that you're relatively the strongest nation in your region. Mamluks are really the only one who can give you a run for your money. You've got lots of money, you've got strong heartlands with low autonomy, and you can easily, rapidly go up in development. I think you start around 350, so quite a development gain early on, and second in everything to the Ming. Let's see, what else? Not too much else to deal with. You want to take all the decisions you start with. They give you bonuses like extra. You want to get the Devonshire system because it'll give you extra manpower, stuff like that. You want to get your stability to 1 pretty early on just to help balance it out. You want to convert your Shia provinces because they hurt your religious unity. Other than that, I think that's pretty much the opening moves to the Ottomans. Obviously, once the coalition wears down, or in case you don't get one, you keep expanding eastward, complete those missions. At the same time, you slowly push into Europe. Anyhow, that's it for this updated guide on how to do opening moves as the Ottomans. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed it. If you have any questions or comments, let me know. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe and check out my other guide videos and Let's Plays. And I'll see you guys all in another video. especially if you recommend a country for me to do a guide for below. Bye for now.